So, today I decided to, well, I decided that I was going to read part of the book I have written instead of doing actual important things that I need to do. Um, because honestly, I'm kind of burnt out and I don't want to actually, do stuff right now. I will in a moment, but you know how it is. So, um, my book, I've been writing it for a while now, probably like December 2023, I believe. So a really long time. Um anyways, enough about that. Um I'm one that tends to ramble, so I'll keep it short and sweet so we can get to the actual book. Um right now I'm going to read like the first 5 chapters maybe, in the prologue, of course. Um, Keep in mind, my reading, like aloud, my reading in my head sounds perfectly fine, but my reading aloud, it can get a little iffy sometimes. So, um, pardon me if I say a word wrong or I pronounce something wrong. I am fluent in English. It is my native language, but I do make quite a few mistakes when it comes to reading aloud, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, moving on. Let's get to the point. My book is called World War II, A Soviet Perspective. And right now, we're going to start with the prologue. Okay, prologue. Nikita was just an average guy. He had a mama and papa, had 2 little brothers, and had a huge crush on a girl in his neighborhood. Everything was going pretty good for him. He had just turned 18 and was working at a rug factory. It was 1939 in the Soviet Union. Joseph Stalin had risen to power and nationalism for Russia was high. Nikita put on his coat and ushanka and headed out for the night. He was going to meet with his friend, Misha Belyakov, at the bar for some drinks. He walked out of his house, saying goodbye to his parents and brothers. He stepped into the cold night outside, his boots hitting the icy pavement below. The streets were desolate and covered with snow. Sorry, I have a little mistake here. Light snowflakes fell from the dark winter sky above, leaving snowflakes on his coat and hat. Oh no, that sounds wrong. Hold on. I'm not prepared, guys. um, should I say subtle flakes? Yeah. Keep in mind, guys, this is a rough draft. Like, my bad. I may just read the prologue, actually. Okay, I'll see what I do. Okay. Just lock in. Okay. Lock in. Okay. Leaving subtle flakes on his coat and hat. He walked and walked until he saw the light of the bar ahead. He stepped into the bar and the snow on his boots falling onto the wood floor. The smell of alcohol and cigarettes filled his nose. There were many men laughing and drinking around the space, but he wasn't there for them. He was there for Misha. He looked around until he saw him, sitting in the corner of the bar, drinking some vodka alone. He approached him and said with a smile, "Hey, Misha." Misha looked up from his cup of vodka. Cup of bottle? What am I yapping about? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. From his cup of vodka and smiled. "Hey, Nikita." They shook hands and Nikita sat down at the table. Misha poured him some vodka and they started to drink together. "Hey, have you heard about the war yet?" Misha asked. "War? With who?" Nikita responded. He hadn't heard about any war. He had known about tensions rising in Europe, but he didn't think war would break out. Yeah, Misha drank some of his vodka. Stalin has declared that the Soviet Union joined the new war since the Nazis invaded Poland. He was shocked to hear this. So, is the Soviet Union helping the Nazis, or are we against them? He asked. We're mostly staying out of it, but Stalin supports the Nazis right now, Misha explained. That's good. At least we aren't going to get sent out to war yet, he said with a chuckle. They continued to laugh and talk over their drinks until they both headed home. Nikita went up to his bedroom, took off his hat and put it on the hat rack in his room, and laid down on his bed. He didn't even bother to take off his coat, since he was so tired and drunk. He slowly went to sleep, not knowing that just 2 years later he would be put into battle between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. Okay, that was the prologue. Let's see how much time I've done. Okay, I still got some time. Okay. Chapter 1. Drafted. Nikita sat in the cafeteria with Misha and his new friend Vitya Ilyushkin. I think that's how you pronounce it. They had all been taken into the Red Army, and today they would be separated into battalions. I hope you two are in my battalion, he said to both of them. Yeah, me too. It's nice to have you guys around, Vitya responded, and Misha nodded in agreement. They continued to eat their food until they suddenly heard something over the loudspeaker. All future soldiers make your ways to the courtyard. I repeat, all future soldiers make your ways to the courtyard, it said through the heavy static of the speaker. I guess it's time for us to get our battalions, Misha said with a hopeful smile. I guess it is, Nikita responded, and Vitya made a noise in agreement. They put their trays in the trash and headed towards the courtyard. He stood as still as he could as he watched their general walk towards them. There were about 2,000 other soldiers standing in a line just like he was. The general walked down to the end of the line and started picking battalions for the soldiers. Battalion 1, Battalion 2, Battalion 3, he said to each of the soldiers. He moved his way down the line until he reached Nikita. He said, Battalion 18. Battalion? I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. It's late. Okay. Sorry. He said, Battalion 18, and moved on to the soldiers in the line to his right. Nikita thought for a while. Is that the battalion my friends are in? How many other people will be in it with me? Where will we be stationed first? The thoughts kept racing through his head until he heard a whistle, telling the soldiers to leave the courtyard. He went over and sat next to his friends, Misha and Vitya. All right, guys, what battalions are you in? He asked them. Misha responded first, Battalion 23. And Vitya responded after him, Battalion 13. What about you, Nikita? His heart sank as his friends said this. Battalion 18. Misha cursed. Well, there goes us sticking together. Yeah, I guess so, Vitya responded. They stayed silent for a while, just sitting there smoking some cigarettes. Nikita suddenly said, looking over at them, I'm gonna miss you two. Misha blew a puff of his cigarette. Same here. And Vitya nodded in agreement. They sat in silence for the rest of their free time, thinking about the war to come. Let's check my time. There we go. Okay, we have time. Chapter 2. Battalion 18, sent off to Leningrad. Nikita woke up in his army tent and stretched. He heard his comrades chatting outside and unzipped his tent to go out and see them. He looked around the camp and saw 9 of his comrades talking, eating breakfast, reading books, or writing letters back home. He scanned the scene from left to right. On the far left was his comrade, Marat Sakhanev, from Kazakhstan. He had light brown, fair skin, straight black hair, and dark, serious brown eyes that almost looked black. He was smoking a cigarette while reading a book. Nikita looked over slightly at his comrade August Kotka from Estonia. He had pale, almost pinkish skin with very pale blonde, fluffy hair and big, bright blue eyes. He was chatting with his other comrade, Sven Prodan, from Moldova. He had caramel brown, straight hair with heavy brown eyes that contrasted against his pale skin. He looked over once more to spot his comrades Zakir, I think it's Zakir, not Zahir, Zakir Salahov and Valdes Kulesa, drinking some vodka and chatting. Zakir was from Azerbaijan and had very light brown skin with dark blue eyes and had short brownish-black wavy hair. Valdes was from Lithuania and had dirty blonde straight hair and orangish-brown eyes. His new best friend there, Alexei Belovich, was sitting near his tent writing a letter to be sent back home, probably to his family. He had the classic Russian blonde hair, pale skin, and crystal blue eyes. Nikita related to him since he was the only other Russian in his battalion. He looked over at his remaining 3 comrades, Eli Jugashvili, Sando Melderes, and Yusuf Tagaev. Eli was from Georgia and had black, fluffy hair, heavy brown eyes, and a scar from a knife fight underneath his jaw. His Latvian comrade, Sando, had caramel brown, wavy hair with natural blonde highlights and hazel eyes. Yusuf was from Kyrgyzstan and had brown skin, brown eyes, and black hair that went down to his shoulders. Now that he knew where all his comrades were, he walked over to Alexei. "Hey, good morning, comrade," he said. Alexei looked up from his letter and smiled. "Ah, you're finally awake," he responded. Nikita sat down next to him and looked over at the letter Alexei was writing. "Who's that for?" he asked. Alexei stammered a bit before answering. "Oh, just someone in my town back home." He always knew that the someone was Alexei's estranged girlfriend back home, but he didn't bring it up. "Hey, what did you guys have for breakfast?" Nikita asked. Alexei responded with a chuckle. "Oh, you know, the usual porridge that looks like it should be fed to farm animals, not people." "Huh, don't tell that to Murat. He likes that stuff and wouldn't like you to insult it," Nikita responded while looking over at Murat, still quietly reading a book. Murat spoke fluent Russian, but he didn't talk much. It was kind of agreed upon by everyone that he was kind of strange. He liked the awful porridge they were forced to consume for breakfast. He read a little too much. He had a stare colder than the Siberian wilderness, and he was just too quiet. "I don't really care about insulting him. That porridge is disgusting," Alexei responded with an air of confidence. "I don't know, man," Nikita responded with a hint of concern. "He seems like the kind of guy to make you disappear if you cross him." "No, that's Eli, not Murat," he said, and Nikita responded, "Well, yeah, of course Eli, but I think Murat could be dangerous as well." "That's good," Alexei responded. "We need dangerous guys to fight off those Nazis." "I guess so," he said with a nod. Just as they stopped talking, they heard Zakir shout suddenly, "Get out your guns! It's the Nazis!" Pretty much at the same time, all of his comrades, including himself, jumped up and grabbed their rifles. His heart was beating out of his chest. This is it. This is war. He heard his comrades yelling along with yells in German. Shots started to ring out through the air. He started to fire at the men with red swastikas on their uniforms. The thought of hurting someone gripped the back of his mind, but he kept going, kept fighting for his motherland. He saw the Germans start to drop to the ground, along with men from other battalions next to his. Suddenly, his comrade Valdes fell to the ground, blood staining his uniform where he had been shot. As his comrades moved forward towards the enemy ahead, he stayed behind to get Valdes to safety. Valdes held his stomach in pain as blood seeped between his fingers. "Don't worry, comrade, I'll get you to safety," Nikita said, yelling over the sounds of shots. "No, comrade, I'll be fine. Go fight," Valdez croaked. And Nikita responded, "No, I'm not just gonna let you die, especially since we're right next to camp." Valdez opened his mouth to respond, but just winced in pain, not even being able to speak anymore. Nikita dragged him back into camp, trying hard not to accidentally bump his wound. He placed Valdez in the medical tent, where he would be cared for once the nurse got there. If the nurse got there. Valdez slightly opened his eyes and softly said, "Thank you, comrade." Nikita looked back at him, now laying on a mat in the medic tent. "It's no problem," he said, as he went out of the tent to fight. Okay, we are at 15 minutes here. I think I'm going to leave it at there. I'm going to do chapter 3, 4, 5 maybe next time. So, if there is a next time. I don't know, you guys, all like 14 of you, you guys know that I don't really upload much. It's because I really don't know what to upload. I always feel like it's not going to be good enough, and so I just like don't do it. And I'm like really busy with like school and stuff, so yeah. So may upload more later, maybe not. Who knows? Leave you guys on a cliffhanger here. So, anyways, that's it. So, bye y'all.